I am Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. Welcome to Connections on Purpose. Whether you're here with us live on Zoom, joining us on Facebook, or watching later on YouTube, I'm glad you're here. This is your time to slow down, fill up, and connect with other heart-centered women who are making a difference in the world. I'm blessed to have one of those women here with me today. Emily Shull is speaking on Finding Security in a Tumultuous World. Emily is a holistic money coach. She helps you to understand and heal your relationship with money so you can meet your personal finance or business goals without the anxiety or overwhelm. Emily does this by guiding you to the emotional root of your unease with money and success. She is known for her calm voice, non-judgmental manner, and ability to help you realize a more peaceful relationship with money and with yourself. You can find out more about Emily at memyselfandmoney.com, and that link is also in the text of this video. Emily, thank you for being with us today. I really look forward to what you have to share.
Thanks so much, Jenny. I'd like to start by reading a poem. It's called Please by Rosemary Watola Tremor. If you are one who has practiced meeting the pain of the world, we need you. Right now, we need you to teach us it is possible to swallow what is weighty and still be able to rise. We need you to remind us we can be furious and scared and near feral over injustice and still thrill at the taste of a strawberry. Ripe and sweet, can still meet a stranger and shake their hand, believing in their humanness. We need you to show us how we too can fall into the darkest, unplumbed pit and learn there a courage and beauty we could never learn from the light. If you have drowned in sorrow and still have somehow found a way to breathe, please lead us. You are the one with the crumbs we need, the ones we will use to find our way back to the home of our hearts. That poem is so timely, and I just heard it 3 days ago, and I'm so grateful. In the breakout rooms, I realized, and to my relief, I'm not alone in feeling like this is one of the most tumultuous times that we've lived through. And any tools, any strategies we can glean on how to get through this with ourselves intact is really needed. One of the things that I thought about when preparing this talk was last year I was at a Dutch intensive language camp in the beautiful north of the Netherlands. And there we were learning a fancy vocabulary word for to be concerned about. And so I was in a small group and we were practicing this vocabulary by asking each other, what are you concerned about? And I said, AI. I'm concerned about AI and its implications for the future and possibly the extinction of the human species because of it. Another person in the group said, well, I'm really afraid of war. We're living in Europe and Russia is not that far away. And there's war going on in so many different parts of the planet. And especially with drone technology, AI making it even easier. And then the last person said, well, I'm really afraid of climate change. That's what I'm really concerned about. And these were all incredibly valid, each so heavy, each posing a very real current threat, each occurring at the same time and often interrelated with one another. The level of threat we're under is hard to overestimate and impossible to escape. Catastrophic storms are real, bombs are real, violence is real, economic and political instability are real. And on top of that, we have uncertainty of timing. AI, it's here, but is it coming from my job tomorrow? Is it coming from my job 5 years from now? uncertainty of impact. What's the climate change going to mean for me where I live now? How do I make decisions for the future? And then, of course, uncertainty of action. Well, if I don't know exactly what's changing and when and how can I plan? And this is just freaking us out as human beings. We were not designed to be with so much uncertainty. It makes us really, really fearful. So we certainly need some strategies to deal with this agonizing uncertainty. And I see this talk as kind of in two different parts. The first one is, well, how do we kind of survive on a day-to-day basis? What strategies can we employ to cope? Not really planning for the future, but just on a day-to-day, how do we cope? And so I have some slides here that I'm going to bring up. And I did a Google search and found this slide because I wanted just a quick a pictorial on the stress cycle. So some website called St. Francis Herb Farm. I think they sell supplements, but they have this really lovely graph that I could use. So it's really important to understand the stress cycle and how we can use this to help us on a daily basis. So normally our body should be in a neutral state. When we begin to face a threat, that activates all of our hormones, gets us ready, fight, flight, or freeze. And then when it's over, our body has a signal that the threat is over, and then it returns to a neutral state again. And this worked beautifully for hundreds of thousands of years. When we were being chased by predators, the threat began, our hormones kicked in so we could run. And when the lion saw some other tasty larger mammal over there and left us alone, we probably shook and cried and ran and hugged our loved ones, and that signaled to our body that we were safe again. But these days, our threats are different. They tend to be ongoing and not physically life-threatening. So it's all of the notifications we get on our phone. It's caring for an aging loved one. It's all of the tasks we need to do during the day. It's opening our bank statement and realizing, oh my gosh, my energy bill just jumped $100 in 1 month. And so we don't necessarily, our bodies don't have the same reaction after the stress is done because it's ongoing. And we don't necessarily think after reading an article about AI and job loss to turn to our partner and say, oh my gosh, I just overcame a major stressor. I need a hug. That's just not the way we think. And so we need to proactively add this stress cycle response finishing every day. And so there are many ideas how to do this. These are all evidence-based strategies for completing the body's stress cycle to return our levels to a more neutral level. And most of these come from the book Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Response by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. And I'm not going to read them all. You can take a screenshot of here if you'd like, but I just want to point out that physical activity, for a variety of reasons, this is the best bang for the buck, really the gold standard of completing the body's stress cycle is doing something really physical with your body. The more, the better. If you can get your heart rate up, even better. But even if it's a small shaking, dancing around your house, that will definitely help. So I just invite you to look through these and just take a moment and ask yourself, which one of these do I do now on a regular basis? And is there anything on this list that I would like to add? And if so, when and where? What would that look like? How can I create this habit into my daily life? And the only one of these that was not in the book I really found missing was nature bathing. And I think maybe the research on that came out after the book was published. So that's phase one, how we can cope with the stress of this modern, rapidly changing world every day. And then step two is how do we cope with the ongoing uncertainty, with the ongoing fear, lack of safety that we're always coming up against. And I'm trying to remember where I am here. The day after I submitted the summary for this talk, I listened to an interview with Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist monk. You're probably familiar with her. If not, she's written a lot of books over the years, and she seems to talk on the same topic over and over again. Let me read out some of the books that she has written. When Things Fall Apart, Heart Abundance for Difficult Times. The Places That Scare You, and Comfortable with Uncertainty. So I thought, oh, this is so right on point. And I was really interested in what she had to say and relieved when I found her talking about the same thing that I was going to talk about, which is that the only way through the hard thing is to turn and face it. It was so interesting because 2 years ago, I became trained in IFS, which is internal family systems, a way of looking at ourselves from the point of view that we all have multiple parts of ourselves and that they're all trying to benefit us, but they're very single-minded in their in how they think they're helping us. And so they don't talk to the other parts necessarily. Sometimes they do, many times they don't. And so when we focus on a particular emotion or thought that we have, we can um, we can build a relationship with one part at a time, learn how it's trying to help us, and let it know that there is a self here that it can connect with, that can take care of things. Because often these parts are very young and they think that they have to do it all alone. And so what Pema Chodron was talking about was very much fitting in with this. And she even used the word befriending, befriending the part of you that is scared. And so these are 6 steps based in IFS of how you befriend a part. You want to find that. So if you're feeling fear, for example, sit quietly, try to find the fear. It can show up somatically. Inside the body, it's often a tightness in the chest. It could show up as an image, a scary blob, for example. So just notice how it appears to you. It could just be a sense. And then you just want to get more granular with that part. Begin to ask it questions, and then find out how you're feeling toward it with the goal of being able to extend some compassion for the part, to befriend it, and have it tell you what it's afraid of, what job it's doing. And when we are able to turn to these hard, scary parts of ourselves and build that relationship with them, a few things can happen. One thing is that this can help us change our perspective. So, for example, I was working with a client who had a lot of anxiety. And the moment she woke up in the morning, she would be scanning her environment and thinking, what do I need to be doing today? When she was interacting with clients, she was kind of hyper aware of their how they were feeling about her. And she noticed that whenever she was in an environment with other people, she always was paying very close attention and stopping herself from speaking before she could kind of know for sure how the other person would react to what she was saying. And this was very exhausting, as you can imagine. And so when we worked with her in her parts, what came up was a very young part who took her to a memory that she had when she was growing up of being around a table with her relatives. And she said something innocently as a child. She didn't even remember what she said, but she remembered the reaction from the adults, and they were all laughing at her and kind of making fun of her for what she said. And when she realized this, she developed, and this was over a period of time, she developed a relationship with this part. And the part was able to have a change in perspective and realize, oh, all of this time, all of these years, I thought I said something wrong to cause this reaction. And now I realize it was the adults who were actually acting inappropriately, making fun of this little girl for what she said and not explaining why that was funny. And that through that, she was able to find strength and resiliency within herself. And this was no longer an issue. The anxiety that she had every morning, the scanning went away because she was able to change that perspective by connecting with that young part and realizing what that part was still holding. And that part was able to release that. Another thing that often happens when we connect with our parts is that it helps us to grieve. And I want to speak specifically about grieving, not for the loss of a loved one, which is it's how we most commonly think about grieving in our culture. But any transition, any loss is going to bring up grief. So I'll give you an example for myself. When I was turning 50 a year and a half ago, I was thinking about what I wanted to do to celebrate. And I really wanted to be with my friends. And the problem was my life had changed a lot in the past 10, 15 years since I had children. And I didn't have a lot of close friends anymore. And when I live in the Netherlands, and when I went home to the US, which I was always there around my birthday because it's near Christmas time, my friends were in different states. And so it wasn't possible for me to have the kind of celebration that I wanted. But when I sat with that, what I realized was there was a time in my life when I got married, when I had children, that I did have close friends around me, and they were very supportive. They threw me showers. It was such a beautiful, loving time. And that I felt a real loss of those friendships because I moved away. I had children, they had children. We just didn't keep in touch the way we had before. And I hadn't realized how much that loss had affected me. And even when I was sitting with it, I had the instinct, I even said to myself, yeah, but it's not their fault that they lost touch. You know, you didn't keep in touch either. And I had to make myself say, let me just feel this. Let me just feel, because it was painful. It was painful that I felt that my friends had abandoned me on some level. And when I was able to sit with that and really go through it, and I just sobbed and sobbed, and it was painful, but then I came out the other side, and it brought it to light my priorities and values, and how cultivating new friendships was something that was very important to me. And so in the end, I was able to both make new friends here in the Netherlands, which I had been avoiding. And until I sat with that, I didn't know why I was avoiding that, because I was afraid of this pain coming up again. And I was also able to figure out a way to celebrate with the friends in the United States. It wasn't on my birthday, but it was during another trip. So when we build these relationships with ourselves, when we're not afraid of hearing and feeling what they are saying and feeling, then it helps us move forward to another place that was not available to us before. So Pema Chodron, she talks about turning to face the fear, turning to face the uncomfortable, the pain, the suffering, the loss. And as humans, when we try to do this, this is what normally happens. Oh, something else comes up and it blocks our ability to actually face the fear. So we have good intentions, but these other parts have really good intentions for us too. And the blank out part will come up and say, no, you don't want to go see that scary mess over there. So I'm just going to make you like, oh, I forgot I had to do this thing. And then the busy part will come up and say, yeah, yeah, I really want to do that maybe next week, but this week I have all these other things to do. And that often brings up some other parts. Our task manager is saying, no, Emily, you said you were going to sit down and face your fear. So Tuesday at 9, I made an appointment for you. You have to do that. And then the inner critic comes out. Why didn't you sit down? You said you were going to do this. Oh, you're so lazy. You don't honor your commitments. And that brings up the shame. Oh, I led this talk and I'm not even walking the talk. And then the self-soothe, oh, Ben and Jerry's was on sale last week, buy one, get one free. Let me just pretend this didn't happen and just have some ice cream and feel good about myself. Oops. And then the punisher comes, oh, no ice cream for you, no dessert next week. You shouldn't have eaten that much. And you can see all of these in their own way. They're trying to help us, but they're blocking what we initially set out to do, was to face the fear. Hard things are hard to face. I went to a conference once and there was a talk on difficult conversations. And the first line of the talk was, difficult conversations are always difficult. I think we were hoping for an easier way out, but it's just not the case. Hard things are hard to face, but there is a way to do it. We can gently begin to form relationships with whatever comes up. So that's usually the blank out, the keep busy, the task manager, and the inner critic. These are ones that often come up the first when we're trying to look at something. And so we just turn to them instead. We just turn to whatever is coming up. We get to know them. Eventually, they'll soften back and allow access. I think what I really want to stress here is that there's nothing wrong with us or our nervous system if we're not able to get to the part that we want to look at immediately. This is, again, it's so human. This is, of course, it's really scary. And we have lots of different parts of us that want to keep us safe. It could take days, it could take years. But as long as we're going at our own pace and building relationships with whatever's coming up, that's progress. And that is healing. And that's very powerful. So I wanted to let you know that I have this experiment coming up called the U Lab, and because it's the first time I'm running it, there's no cost to you. We're going to be doing this very work together in a group, and I envision it meeting 4 times, 1 hour every 2 weeks for 4 times, and when you participate, you don't have to pay anything this round, but you provide feedback so I can understand what's working, what needs to be changed. We would start with a small meditation, an optional sharing, and then guided volunteer. So if anyone would like to work with me for 15, 20 minutes, we can talk about what parts are showing up, and what's happening between them and building those relationships. After that, there'd be kind of an explanation, questions about what we just witnessed. I find it's really helpful to experience this first and then explain second. And then at the end of each call, we're going to end with the question, what did you learn between you and you? And I don't know what that answer would be for you, but I'm pretty certain that in each call, there is something that you learn between you and you. So the first takeaway from this talk is that we have to find intentional ways to complete our stress response cycle so that we return to physical safety within the body. Because when we're activated, it's not only bad for our bodies, bad for our mental and emotional health, but it's a place where any action that we take from that place is not going to be fruitful and can often be destructive. And that the key takeaway number 2 is that the only way through is out. In order to feel the safety that we crave, we need to find a way to connect with that safety that does exist inside of us. It might take some time to find it, but it is there and you can connect with it. I want to finish by reading the same poem that I did when I started, but this time around, I invite you to close your eyes if you'd like to, if you feel comfortable. And I'd like you to imagine, let me just pull this up. I'd like you to imagine hearing this from the perspective of it being written from the parts of yourself yearning for yourself to recognize their fear and show them how to be with it. If you are the one who has practiced meeting the pain of the world, we need you. Right now, we need you to teach us it is possible to swallow what is weighty and still be able to rise. We need you to remind us we can be furious and scared and near feral over injustice and still thrill at the taste of a strawberry, ripe and sweet, can still meet a stranger and shake their hand, believing in their humaneness. We need you to show us how we too can fall into the darkest, unplumbed pit and learn there a courage and beauty we could never learn from the light. If you have drowned in sorrow and still have somehow found a way to breathe, please lead us. You are the one with the crumbs we need, the ones we will use to find our way back home to the home of our hearts. Go forth and lead. Thank you.
Wow. Emily, that poem is just so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And so much great stuff you did in such a short amount of time. Great reminders, especially for me. And, I've been seeing it in my own life recently about, I've been taking walks first thing in the morning for like 30 minutes, fast walks or just slow in nature. And my day shifts, and so I did screenshots of everything because I'm going to go back and remember the things I've forgotten. And I appreciate that so much. So thank you. And I'd like everyone here with us on Zoom to unmute yourselves and let's just give Emily some thank yous, some yays, some applause.
Woohoo!
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Yeah, yes,
Beautiful.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
So for all of you joining us live or catching the replay, thank you for being part of our community today. If you want to join us for future Connections on Purpose gatherings on Zoom or in person in Columbia, Maryland, or explore On Purpose Woman magazine, just visit opwgc.com. That stands for On Purpose Woman Global Community. That is my website, opwgc.com. You'll find opportunities for inspiration, connection, and growth, both personally and professionally. And until next time, be curious, be inspired, be connected, and be on purpose.